Hi friends, in previous tutorial series we had implemented examples using Docker. In this tutorial we'll be implementing examples using Kubernetes. So we'll be configuring a Kubernetes cluster and deploying our Spring Boot applications to it. For this tutorial we'll be making use of Minikube, which is a single node Kubernetes cluster, and it is usually used for development purposes only. In future tutorial series we'll be looking at the cloud-based Kubernetes services like the Azure Kubernetes services. So we'll be deploying the Spring Boot applications to such cloud-based Kubernetes services. So this tutorial series, it will cover the basics of Kubernetes, which will then be useful for the future series. For this tutorial, we'll be looking at what is Kubernetes and what is the need for it. For this tutorial, I'll be making use of my website javanews.com. So here go to DevOps, Kubernetes tutorials. The example that we'll be looking at today is what is Kubernetes and the need for it. So in a previous tutorial series, we have already covered Docker in depth. You can go through this tutorial here. So in this tutorial we have given the basics of Docker, and also we have deployed Spring Boot applications to Docker, and we have implemented many other examples using Docker. So before we proceed to Kubernetes, you need to know the basics of Docker. So go through this tutorial before you start this series. In today's world, Docker containers, they have become very popular. Containers, they are extremely lightweight and modular virtual machines. Using them gives us flexibility. We can create, deploy, copy and move them from environment to environment. So we have already covered this in previous tutorial series. You can go through it. So why do we need a Kubernetes if we already have Docker? Now let us consider a scenario where we have multiple Docker containers that are deployed. Now suppose one of these containers, it crashes. Then the admin will obviously need to rectify it immediately and restore the container to the previous state. This approach, it will be fine only if there are less number of containers that are running. But suppose if we have hundreds of thousands of containers running, then monitoring them manually is just not feasible. It will be difficult to monitor such container clusters 24/7. So let us consider the scenario at Google. Here it is mentioned that Google, it starts over 2 billion containers per week. That is over 3000 containers they are started per second. So obviously it is not possible to monitor these containers manually. So this is why we need Kubernetes. Kubernetes, it helps us to monitor the cluster and keep it up and running. Kubernetes also called as K8s. So it is abbreviated as K8s because Kubernetes, it is a long word and there are 8 alphabets between K and S. So sometimes it is called as K8s. It is an open source container orchestration system for automation, deployment, scaling and management of containerized applications. What Kubernetes does is that it does not allow containers to run on their own. Instead, containers, they run inside construct called as pods. So here we have pods, and inside the pods the container will be running. So we can have multiple containers running inside a pod. So here we have a single container running in this pod, but we can also have multiple containers which run inside the pod. This makes pods the fundamental building block in Kubernetes. Multiple containers running inside a pod is usually not a common occurrence. Usually there is a single container running in a pod. So usually there is a one-to-one relation between the container and a pod. So there will usually be a single container running in a single pod. However, there are some instances where there are multiple containers running inside a pod. Usually the other containers, they are nothing but helper containers that are helping the main container. So now the Kubernetes pod is actually responsible for the working of the container. If the container, it goes down, or if there are some issues with the container, then Kubernetes will know about it and it will take appropriate action automatically. So there will be minimal manual intervention necessary for keeping this container cluster up and running. Kubernetes, it performs the following functions: to create and run pods, to run pods across multiple nodes. So nodes are nothing but actual machines or virtual machines on which the Kubernetes cluster will be running on. Load balance traffic across pods, set up networking so nodes, they can communicate with each other. Next we'll be looking at the Kubernetes architecture. So Kubernetes, it consists of several smaller components that work together. These components, they can be categorized into two groups. One is the master components and other is the node components or the worker components. The master components, they are responsible for managing the Kubernetes platform. So the master components, they themselves do not perform any business related functionality, but instead they act as an admin for the Kubernetes platform. The node components or the worker components, these are responsible for actual running of the pods. So the Spring Boot applications will be deploying them on the node components or the worker components. So this is where the actual business logic, it will get deployed. The master components, it consists of the Kube API server, etcd, Kube scheduler, Kube controller manager, while the node components, it consists of the kubelet, kube proxy and the container runtime. Next we'll be having a look at all these components. Before we look at all the components, let us first have a look at the types of Kubernetes deployment. So there are two types of Kubernetes deployment. One is the single node setup and the other is the multi-node setup. Let us first have a look at the single node setup. So this type of setup, it is used for development purpose only. In single node setup, we have a single Kubernetes node on which multiple Kubernetes pods can be deployed. kubectl is a Kubernetes command line tool using which the admin it can run various Kubernetes commands for the single node Kubernetes server. Also the pods which are deployed on this Kubernetes node, they will be exposed to the users using service, which we'll be having a look at later. So Minikube, it is an example of the single node setup which we'll be using for this tutorial series. So for this tutorial series, we'll be using a Linux operating system on which we'll be deploying the Minikube cluster, and we'll be also making use of kubectl to run the Kubernetes commands for this Minikube cluster. Next, we'll have a look at the multi-node setup. So this type of setup, it is used in actual production environment. It has both horizontal and vertical scaling. So in previous example, we had seen that since there can be a single node, so obviously we can only add more pods to the single node. So there can be only vertical scalability. But as we cannot add more nodes to this cluster since it is a single node Kubernetes server, so horizontal scaling it was not possible. Whereas in case of multi-node setup, it is possible. So a multi-node setup, it looks something like this. So as we had already seen, a Kubernetes node, it can be of two types. One was the Kubernetes master and the other was the Kubernetes worker node. So here we have a single Kubernetes master node and multiple Kubernetes worker nodes. Also we had discussed that the Kubernetes master, it is responsible for managing the Kubernetes cluster. So it acts as an admin and it itself does not have any pods or deployment. The worker nodes are responsible for the deployment of Spring Boot application using the pods. Also here we have service. So the Spring Boot application that we'll be deploying using pods, they will be exposed to the users using the service. So let us have a look at the Kubernetes master node and the Kubernetes worker node in detail. We'll first have a look at the Kubernetes master node. So these nodes, they are responsible for managing the kube cluster. It consists of the following components. First is the API server. So this API server, it acts as a front end for the Kubernetes cluster. We give the commands to manage the cluster using the API server. We can connect to the API server using the UI API or the client tool. So this API server, it acts as the front end for this Kubernetes cluster. So in order to manage this Kubernetes cluster, we need to give some commands, and these commands, they are given through the API server. The command to the API server, it can be given either using a UI, API or a CLI tool. In our case, we'll be making use of kubectl, which is a CLI tool. It stands for Kubernetes command line tool, and using this we'll be giving the commands to the API server for managing the cluster. The next master component that we'll be looking at is the controller manager. So the controller manager, it controls the working of the Kubernetes cluster. The controller manager, it is composed of, the first one is the node controller. The node controller, it is responsible for monitoring if any node is down. If down, then it responds accordingly. So it will be checking all the worker nodes, and if any of these worker nodes is down, then the controller manager, it takes the appropriate action. Next is the replication controller. It is responsible for making sure that the number of pods have replicas as specified in the configuration. So we'll be having a Kubernetes configuration file. In that we'll be specifying the replicas. So replica, it is an identical pod. So if a pod it goes down or if it is evicted, then the replica pod it comes into the picture. Next is the endpoint controller. It is responsible for interpod and services communication. So it manages the entire communication in the Kubernetes. Finally, we have the services account and token controller. It is responsible for creating API token for new namespaces. So namespaces is used to segregate the resources in Kubernetes according to their utilities. So it is similar to something that we have of packages in Java. So java.util, those packages, the classes in those packages, they have different functionalities, whereas we can also create our own custom packages. A namespace, it is similar. We'll be looking more into namespaces in future tutorials. It is cluster. The next master component is a scheduler. The scheduler, it is responsible for determining how the pods run on the worker nodes. If a new pod is to be created, then the scheduler is responsible for selecting the appropriate worker node. So suppose now using kubectl, the kube master, it gets some commands to create a new pod on the worker node. So the scheduler, it is responsible to select which worker node this pod should be running on. And the scheduler, it does it according to the workload on each of the pods and the other configurations. So the scheduler, it is responsible for allocation of the pods on the various worker nodes. Final master component that we'll be looking at is the etcd. So the etcd is a key value store for persisting cluster data. It stores the data about the cluster state. So all that is happening in the cluster, it is stored in the etcd. Now suppose this kube master, it goes down. So all the cluster information that is stored in this etcd, it will also be lost. So we should have multiple kube masters so that we have multiple etcd which will be storing the cluster state. Next we'll be looking at the Kubernetes worker node components. The Kubernetes worker nodes, they run the actual pods that the Kubernetes master instructs them to run. On these Kubernetes worker nodes, the following components are installed. So first is the kubelet. Kubelet is an agent that runs on all the nodes. Its responsibility is to communicate with the master node. If the master node, it gives any instruction, then these are implemented by the kubelet. So here on each of the worker nodes we have a kubelet installed. So kubelet, it is an agent, and the master nodes, it communicates with the kube worker using this kubelet. So if the master node, it gives any commands to the kube worker, then the kubelets, it implements it on the kube worker. The next component that we'll be looking at is the pods. So we have already looked at it. These are the fundamental building blocks in Kubernetes. These are responsible for running and controlling the containers. So in this tutorial we covered the basics of Kubernetes and its architecture. Next tutorial will begin the actual practicals.